fails.
You got to hear from my attorney. This is starting to be. I mean, is it slander? What is it?
Isn't your attorney Michael Cohen?
Libel? My fixer. Sniveling weasel.
I think I'm going to be okay. Oh, man. It's not my fault you get so nervous that you can't contain your gaseous submissions when we go live, Lewis. Actually, I don't even think
It's all that fiber.
I'm not even seeing us go live yet. Are we even live? I don't even know.
Does anyone know? Are we living in a matrix?
There we go. It only has a 25-second delay.
God.
Boom! And we're live. Was that too loud?
That was too squeaky.
I was trying to go full Seinfeld, but I feel like it might have been too much. I took it too far. I apologize to everyone who's wearing headphones. Shout out to Brian. I just bought an Apple Watch Ultra 2 on eBay for $580 new. What? It's a great price. Betty Reyes here. I'll be ninja listening until Airfon starts the show. I don't even know what that means, but I like it. We got Caveman here. We got Darth Inkling. We got Level Remix with Let's Go Govs. I Cave Dave saying Bonjour Govs. I'm not sure how I feel about that mixture of cultures. Bonjour Govs? No.
This is a staunchly anti-French podcast.
We want nothing to do with the French. You hear me?
Nothing. Chunder in the chunnel.
We got Maximiliano I can't even say it. Maximiliano Larenes. God, I love that name. It sounds like a villain in an Antonio Banderas movie. Okay. So go ahead and get rolling. Only starting 45 minutes late. We've literally been talking for 45 minutes and we haven't even gone live yet.
Not only that, we haven't saved the world.
I'm trying to figure out if I can make any sense of that statement at all, and I can't. It's just nothing. Nothing comes to me.
45 minutes and we didn't save the world. What the?
Okay, yeah. Still lost. I'm still lost, Lewis.
Gotta have lofty goals.
Okay. Well, I think Lewis just had a stroke, but we're gonna go ahead and carry on.
I told you I can't do two things at once, man. Cannot copy and paste and talk.
He's gonna start mumbling big time here really soon. He'll think he's making sense, but we're gonna be like,
I need to reboot.
All right. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling because we have a lot of stuff to talk about here, and I feel like my windows are all completely screwy. Let me go ahead and move those around. And oh my goodness, how are we even gonna get through all this stuff? Well, we'll start off by queuing up Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, yes, my dear. Oh, Mrs. D, do you have any plans for the weekend? Oh, you know that I do. I'll be listening to my favorite album from John Mayer with El Caney. Really, John Mayer? What a throwback. Oh, yes, we listen to Your Body is a Wonderland completely nude. Ah, Lewis. Isn't that your favorite song, Lewis? I heard that it was.
No, it is not.
Does your band do an accordion version of that song? You could get that to Mrs. D. And they could.
No, we do not.
Okay. Well, so just something to think about, Liz.
But hey, with AI, all you got to do is ask.
That's true. The musicians are dead, man. There's no point in even having them anymore. All you need are the notes now, and AI can do the rest.
So bass player, the job title will be changed to equipment mover, which is basically a big part of the job.
That's really like 80% of the job right now, isn't it? Yeah. If you could happen to play bass, that's a plus. All right, well, Mrs. D, now that you've nauseated all of us, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling because we have a whole lot of show here to do and not a lot of time to do it. So I'll get this music queued up and we'll get going in 3, 2. Hello and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Arif and Elijah. Join me today. Fun fact, in his free time, he likes to put on a Lord of the Dance video and pretends he's one of the performers. Wow, who knew? He also happens to be managing editor of Cultback. Lewis Wallace is here.
Now that would make me chuckle because that is never going to happen.
Maybe not on video. Also with us, he'll be spending most of his weekend laying tripwires and other booby traps to capture any unexpected visits from any San Francisco tech editors who are upset about grammar errors. He's a writer for CultCast. Griffin Jones is here.
I will be spending my weekend having my dishwasher fixed, which is the highlight, really, of my Saturday.
No. Dishwasher problems are the worst, man. You don't realize how important that machine is until it goes down.
Things spiral out of control real fast in the kitchen and the dishwasher goes down, man.
Yeah. And then you got to do them all by hand, which makes my back hurt. I hate it, man. I hate doing dishes.
Well, it's actually not that bad because I have a Vision Pro. So while I'm doing dishes, I can watch a giant YouTube video on my sink.
But you also have a 13-pound computer sitting on your head, pushing your neck down. That's going to be a problem for me.
I mean, doesn't the dishwashing suffer? Isn't the quality of the cleaning?
That is true because the display isn't like perfect fidelity, so sometimes I do miss a few things.
Yeah, see,
I
a
wanted
compromise I'm not willing to accept.
The other night I was making like a nice late night snack of some oven roasted carrots while I also had the Vision Pro on. And as I was peeling the carrots, I realized, wait, I can't really peel these very well because I can't see where I've already peeled or not. Because again, kind of dark, especially with like the fuzziness. I couldn't tell which part was already peeled or not.
You have a trip to the emergency room in your future.
Yeah. A, you need to move to California if your late night snack is roasted carrots. Okay. That is not an Ohio late night snack. B, you need to like. I'm a little scared somebody's going to find you in a puddle of blood. You keep peeling things with a Vision Pro on your head.
Yeah, who eats oven roasted carrots for a late night snack? I don't want those for dinner.
Look, it's a simple 45-minute preparation.
Yeah. It's only 45 minutes after you've hand peeled them all and skinned them and everything's delicately.
I don't know what Apple Watch you have, but I can tell you that they do not monitor for blood loss. Although they, if you have a most recent one or whatever, it will trigger that fall warning when your body falls over. Oh my God.
Yeah, it can't even monitor for you hyperventilating when you realize you've lost all finger function. Because the O2 measuring is gone. So,
oh my God.
You won't even know that it happened. Okay, look. Yeah. What?
X.
Oh, you want the tweet action. Thank you, Lewis. I got it.
Hand signal.
I got it lined up right here. Boom. How about that?
Off mic boom. Okay, here we go.
What's the deal with the tweet? There you go. It's been tweeted, Lewis. Now they're going to pour in. I was wondering why we only had 3 people here. It's the tweet action. That was it. It could also be the content, but I think maybe probably to a lesser degree. Okay. Let's see here. You all want to know what we're talking about this week. I'm sure you probably are curious, so I will titillate you here for a moment. We're going to talk about, the cheaper Apple Vision Air incoming. I hear they've canceled the Vision Pro 2. It's just done. Gone. They're working on the cheaper version because no one wants to spend $3,500 on the Vision Pro. And we're also going to talk about what's coming next for Apple Watch. I think we got some bad news about upcoming Apple products. It seems like Apple might be back to going thin, and that might include Macs. I really hope this isn't true, and if it is true, I hope it's not as bad as it used to be, because I think this is the complete wrong direction for them to head, and it seems like they're back on this thin kick, and if they are, I'm really going to be so sad and disappointed. We also have an idea of when we will be able to expect the next M4 MacBook Pros, which is going to be a whole lot sooner than you probably were expecting. We're going to talk about iOS 18. Griffin's gone hands-on. He's got about 45 items in this list here. So I'm going to put on some of those glasses that make me look like I'm still awake and then just kick back and let Griffin do his thing. Lewis is going to tell us about some of the hidden iOS 18 features that you may not have heard about, that until he reads the article, he may not have heard about. We'll see. And then also, we've got an update on one of the greatest beats of all time. One that we have followed better than any other media outlet. Yes, it has to do with MoviePass. The saga, the never-ending saga continues. And something that we have been asking for years covering this story has finally manifested, and I give myself not complete credit, but 85%. I'm actually surprised that they didn't consult me for this project. And I don't mean that like sarcastically. We covered this beat to such a degree that I actually am surprised that they did not at least reach out to me and say, would you like to be featured in this project that we're working on just for your commentary? Because we covered this thing ad nauseum. We were so far ahead of the curve on this story. It's one of the proudest achievements in my life. And I have 4 kids. All right. Before we dive in, let me go ahead and pull up my notes here. Lewis, your face is in the way. I got to move it. Let's see. Where should I move you, Lewis? I'll move you over there.
That is a problem.
I want to say this episode is brought to you by Bilt Rewards. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbilt.com/cultcast. That's joinbilt.com/cultcast. Also want to thank Squarespace for supporting this episode. Is browser mode set up? Oh, thank goodness. Of course, now your camera is all wonky. Griffin, your head, I'm only showing like the top 3/4 of your head, which I think might be the best part. So it's not bad, but it is a little bit distracting.
It's just hair?
No, I've got mostly forehead, hair, and part of his eyeball on the right side. I mean, it's a good chunk. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Thank you, Griffin. It looks like Crescent Griffin that we have going on here, but it's not a bad look. It's just different. If you need a website, you've been hearing me talk about Squarespace for years and years and years and years, and you have been, just like Mr. Strickland said, a complete slacker. Done nothing. Well, let me tell you about some features that may win you over to my side. I, of course, use Squarespace to host the cultcloth.co website where I sell cultcloth, which, they need extra fans to cool the servers for all the orders that are coming in, but that's a different story. Squarespace Blueprint AI and SEO tools. Start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up, tailored to your brand or business, and optimized for every device. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with the integrated, optimized SEO tools so you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. They also have flexible payments built in, which makes checkout seamless for your customers. With simple but powerful payment tools, you can accept credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. And of course, you could sell products and services of all kinds. Add a paywall to sell memberships or courses, sell files your customers can download like PDFs, music, or ebooks. There's a calendar functionality so that your members can book your calendar and pay you to teach them things that you know about. I wish that was an option for me. I have nothing that's saleable, except for CultCloth, of course, which is the best cleaning cloth in the land. Head to squarespace.com/cultcast for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. With code CultCast at checkout, that's squarespace.com/cultcast. And when you're ready to make your purchase, use code CultCast at checkout to score 10% off your first purchase of website or domain. You might think that I'm confused about what's happening next. I'm not, Lewis. I'm sending it to Griffin to talk about the cheaper Apple Vision AR headset that is coming down the pipe. Hopefully it's a lot less expensive, which would make me more interested in it. But Griffin, I don't want to steal your thunder. Take it away.
A cheaper version of Apple's Vision augmented reality headset has reportedly been fast-tracked. The goal is supposedly to have the scaled-back device on the market by next year. To accomplish this, Apple has allegedly halted work on the next-generation high-end Vision Pro model. While the bleeding-edge technology of the Vision Pro draws praise, the $3,500 price remains a drawback. You don't say.
That's a nice way of putting it. A drawback.
In response, Apple is allegedly changing its focus away from the top-end models. Quote, the company is still working on releasing a more affordable Vision product with fewer features before the end of 2025, said the information. In addition to lowering the price, Apple is also reportedly planning to cut the weight by at least a third. That would be a very dramatic difference. That I would be
Dude,
impressed if
that
they
would
could do
make a
that.
huge difference, and that would be something that would make me a lot more interested in it. Because even though it's not like wearing a helmet made of lead on your head, it's like aluminum. It's definitely heavy.
Yeah, I think it's like equivalent to like wearing like a motorcycle helmet.
Yeah, except it
I'm
just
similar
hangs
to
off
that.
the front of your face,
Yeah, yeah.
which is part of the problem.
Leaks indicate it is always Apple's intention to introduce high-end and low-end vision products. The lower-end device is simply coming sooner than expected. What the cost for the more affordable version will be is unknown at this time, hopefully significantly below $3,500. I think I heard from another source that they were targeting $1,500. I mean, if they can reduce the weight by a third and reduce the price by $2,000, I mean, that would be sure. I would take that. That would be a pretty awesome product, and I'm sure it would like open up the sales to like an order of magnitude greater. I don't know how. I have my doubts that they would be able to do that by the end of next year because that's a very dramatic difference in cost. And
There's so many
presumably
features they could
set.
cut out of that thing, though.
Just get rid of the ghost eyes.
Get
Boom,
rid of the ghost
done.
eyes. You could even get rid of, I think maybe like the automatic moving of like the eyepieces and just have that be like a fixed thing. I mean, they'll probably degrade the quality of the screen. Sadly, I mean that's the one thing
I don't think Apple wants to degrade the quality of the screen. Like the reason the Vision Pro is so expensive is because Apple considers this to be like the minimum viable vision experience.
Yeah.
And I don't really see how they could introduce like a lower cost product like that, especially while the regular Vision Pro is still for sale for $2,000 more. Like I have a hard time imagining what this product lineup will look like with the then 2.5-year-old Vision Pro, or what 1.5-year-old Vision Pro on sale simultaneously with this product as well.
I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if when they released a cheaper version of the product, they actually cut the price of the Vision Pro a little bit. So it's a little bit closer, like maybe $500 or something. But I don't know. When you say MVP, I think that's an interesting observation. They think that this is the most minimally viable product that they can release that's still high quality. But if it's an option between the product existing and not existing, I think there are features that could be cut, right? Like there are things that they could do to degrade the experience, but make it cheaper and more ubiquitous. Because I mean, the concept itself is great. Like once you wear this thing and you like have that floating window with you wherever you go, that is such an unbelievably convenient way to like watch videos and to view content as you're just out in the world. I could see this being popular, but yeah, not for $3,500 plus tax.
Have they done any like surveys? Have you received any surveys from Apple saying like, do you use this around other people?
I haven't. I've received no surveys of this sort.
I wonder if they know how. You would think they would. I mean, because I can't remember what the name of that feature is. The Ghost Eyes feature. I mean, eyesight, right? So that's completely useless if you're using it in a room by yourself, right? I mean,
it's completely useless. Just
it doesn't the display the external display is off if it doesn't detect anybody else in the room.
But my point is just if 95% of the time that people use this is in a room by themselves because it's too creepy to wear around another human being, that's the feature is not necessary, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like the feature was designed with the understanding that if there are a lot of these and if people are wearing them, then they'll want to have like a quasi-normal human conversation experience. But the thing is, like, it's year one and their first product in this lineup is $3,500. That's not really going to be the case. Like the other supposedly like really game-changing breakthrough new experience is having the spatial persona FaceTime call. Like from everything I've heard from people who've tried it out, it's really great. Like having, two people wearing Vision Pros who do like the special persona FaceTime call. I mean, they feel like they're hanging out as if they were in the same room and they could be across the planet. But the problem is that feature depends on multiple people having Vision Pros, and I don't know anybody else who has one.
Leander. Or did he turn
Yeah.
his back in? I can't ever.
I wonder how often he even uses it. And the other thing too is like the Ghost Eyes,
Kids hawked it.
even for the feature, even for the use case that they think that it solves for, it doesn't solve that. It doesn't solve that problem because the Ghost Eyes are so creepy. They're so faint that people cannot take you seriously when your eyeballs suddenly fade into existence in these goggles. It's just not practical, and it's so ridiculous and comedic that no one can take you seriously when you're wearing these things. Maybe in some bright white boardroom in Cupertino, this seems normal, but anyone in the real world is not going to take you seriously when your ghost eyes are sitting there staring at them, and plus you can hardly see them anyway. So I think they just need to cut it all together, and just make it so that when you're wearing the goggles, maybe make a color that shows like you're engaging and like you're preoccupied, and
around the rim, right? Like just around the
there you go.
It's either
Like kinda
red
like
or
the-
green.
Kind of like the HomePod display, how it has like that little blurry, you know, it's technically a display, but it's just like a few LEDs under like a little piece of diffuse glass.
Yeah, it
to
just
show
doesn't
you
even
that
need a
it's doing
display.
something.
And you know, they ship it with a couple of, you know, Google Eye stickers. You know, you get a couple of different choices. You can either put on, you know, squinty ones or happy ones. You know,
I think they should allow you to have one giant cyclops eye right in the middle. So
that
like
could be an option.
it's just one big eyeball.
Bloodshot.
Customize it. There could be an eyeball store where you can, you know, buy different third-party eyeballs so that people can see it.
I just, it's not gonna be stickers. It's gonna be magnetic, right? And then they can sell different stickers, different magnetic eyeballs. You get a wide choice of eyeballs.
Yeah.
Oh man, we just solved the whole problem, man. Now it's
I'm not
weighs
sure we
less,
did.
costs less,
Yeah.
and they make more money.
Or, you know, like you just slide the goggles up when people are talking to you, like you do with glasses or, you know, anything else that you wear on your face, you know, ski goggles or something. Like I think they over-architected this solution, and it is as cool as they thought it sounded. It probably adds a tremendous expense, and it's just not needed, and it doesn't actually solve any real-life problems, I don't think. But, I mean, we had heard that they have basically backburnered Vision Pro 2 in an effort to develop this cheaper version, right? Like that was the story that came out this week. Like I heard they canceled the Vision Pro 2. I don't think that's true, but they are not actively working on it because they want to get the cheaper version of Vision Pro 2. I think they got to do something, man. They're losing momentum big time. I mean, it was huge. It was a cultural moment, and then it predictably did what we thought it was going to do. It just disappeared. And even people that still have the Vision Pro never talk about them. They seem like they're trying to figure out reasons to use their Vision Pro, and there haven't really been a ton of use cases to actually put the thing on and wear it.
Hoping to God something useful comes along,
Please.
some great app. Please, I want to use my $3,500 headset.
Plus tax. Yeah. I mean, how often do you use yours, Griffin?
Oh, I use it, I would say 5 days out of the week.
Okay, so you still use it a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think part of the problem is that like, you know, it's it's like a chicken and egg problem where like they need to sell enough headsets so people buy them, so that developers make apps for them. Like it's kind of Apple's responsibility to get the ball rolling themselves, and we just haven't seen that kind of commitment from Apple. Like they released Vision OS 2, and it doesn't come with any new native Vision OS apps. Like calendar, reminders, podcasts are still iPad apps in compatibility mode. There have been like 3 episodes of their spatial TV series, and like it's been 3 months later and we finally get episode 2. Like okay,
Yeah,
great.
they're not
Like,
moving very fast on it.
Apple
think that they would have
Apple
had
cares more about the Vision Pro than any other company on the planet, and they're not showing that they really care about it at all.
Yeah, it's moving surprisingly slow. All right, let's talk about some other Apple hardware here. And I think this might be more relevant to our audience who don't want to spend $3,500 on the Vision Pro. Actually, that's probably not true. I bet you most of our audience bought it. I just wonder how many of them kept it. I would be curious to get that survey. Okay, let's talk about products coming down the pipe, and let's talk about Apple. Oh, please, let's not be moving back in this direction to the Church of Thin and Light. I thought that we had moved on, but it seems like perhaps not. We'll talk about Apple Watch Series 10 first. Could get larger, but thinner. The Apple Watch Series 10 might adopt a thinner design with a bigger display. The last few models focused on internal improvements. The last all models. A brighter screen and little else. But Ming-Chi Kuo thinks that this will change with the Apple Watch Series 10. Reportedly, Apple will bump the chassis size from 41 and 45 millimeters to 45 and 49 millimeters. The watch will also get thinner overall, which corroborates recent claims from Mark Gurman from Bloomberg. A larger chassis would give Apple more space to fit a larger display and a bigger battery. Disappointingly, the company apparently does not plan significant upgrades to Apple Watch Ultra this year, although it might get a new black option, space black maybe, and that's about it. A final decision on even that will allow Apple... I can't even read this sentence. What? A final decision on even that will follow Apple's analysis of production samples.
He's talking about the black color option. Like if they can't crank out enough of these, yeah, that's not a good sentence.
Okay. Do you have your horse crop handy? Make sure that you go and address this writer after the show. Let's see here. Right. Okay. So this was the other part. So Gurman came out with his Power On newsletter, and he expounded upon this, and he was like, this is not just an Apple Watch thing. This is Apple's new focus for all their products upcoming. And I'm quoting from the article now. I'm told that Apple is now focused on developing a significantly skinnier phone in time for the iPhone 17 in 2025. It's also working to make the MacBook Pro and Apple Watch thinner. The plan is for the latest iPad Pro to be the beginning of a new class of Apple devices that should be the thinnest and lightest products in their categories across the whole tech industry. Oh, no! Please, let's hope this is not a return to Apple removing all the ports on the MacBook Pro in order to make it thin and light. Please, that is not what anybody wants. I'm hoping what this means, at least on the Mac, is changing the display to OLED so that they can make it thinner, but keep the same amount of battery, keep all the ports, keep the same speakers. I mean, I would absolutely be distraught if I saw Apple returning to the whole, we're going to put, 3 USB-C ports on here and nothing more. I don't think that's where we're headed because they added back MagSafe. They added back the SD card slot. I think it would be completely bizarre for them to backtrack on that now.
Lesson not to backtrack on that.
Dude, I hope so. But when you read this story about them wanting to make everything thinnest in class, that seems to be a possibility.
I mean, I think Apple already learned that lesson. And that's also not the only reason why those 2016 to 2020 MacBook Pros sucked. They also sucked because they had the touch bar and they had that terrible keyboard that explicitly didn't work as a keyboard, and it also significantly raised the price. But we're not going to. That's a one-way road. However, I mean, I think making a thinner Apple Watch is only good news. Like of all the products in Apple's lineup, the Apple Watch is the one that I expected most to get thinner over time, and it hasn't whatsoever. Like it sticks out pretty significantly from your wrist, even if you don't have the Apple Watch Ultra. So I'm all for the Apple Watch getting thinner. I mean, I don't necessarily. I hope that rumor is wrong and that he's not saying that the small Apple Watch will inexplicably get 4 millimeters larger because I mean, people's wrists haven't changed. The small and the large Apple Watch are sized that way to match people's wrist sizes. I intentionally bought a small Apple Watch because I don't want a giant Apple Watch on my wrist. So I hope that's wrong at least. I mean, it's possible that he's misattributing the display sizes to maybe the Apple Watch Ultra and the larger size, but I don't know.
I also bought the smaller Apple Watch when I had the regular Apple Watch because I thought the big one just looked goofy.
So dainty.
Mm-hmm.
The small one was? Well,
okay,
look.
Well, my wrists are dainty, so it matches.
I like the bigger ones, but I think the thing with this is those sizes. I mean, they've made the things the size bigger while keeping the overall size the same, right? They just keep making the screen bigger. So I don't know that means that's going to be a noticeably bigger watch. You know what I mean? Like,
I
I
hope
think it
not.
might actually
Yeah.
be smaller, but with a bigger screen. I don't know how they keep doing that, but it almost seems impossible. But
I mean, if you go back and look at like an original Apple Watch, like Series 0 to Series 3, like the display looks like it looks like something's wrong with it because it's so tiny. It has this gigantic like black border around
yeah,
it.
it's like a postage stamp in the middle of a black mat.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I thinner.
Like some
We'll
people are
see.
saying that like 41 millimeters refers to the size of the case itself and not the size of the display. I don't, I don't know how entirely true that is. It feels like Apple is measuring this with some internal metric that applies to nothing else in reality. So I might be worrying over nothing, but I'm all
Yeah.
for the Apple Watch getting thinner. And, so I feel like Apple learned their lesson with the MacBooks. They're not going to, retread the same mistake only 8 years after they made the
I mean,
exact
you're
same
probably
mistake.
right. I hope you're right. I don't mind thinner either. I mean, obviously thin is fine, but thin at the expense of practical features and battery life is a huge mistake, and that's
And
what I would hate
honestly,
to see them do.
I mean, battery life to me is the one thing that is lacking with the Apple Watch. Because now that every time I wear a regular Apple Watch, I'm like, oh my God, it's dead again. What?
Yeah,
It's so weird after you have an Ultra and you don't have to worry about it for a few days. It's crazy when you get this thing, you look down, it's like at 12%. I just put it on, this morning, and I mean, I don't know. Other smartwatches have better battery life than that, so I don't understand why they can't. I mean, I guess it's doing a lot more than
I think
other
it's just doing a
smartwatches,
lot
but
more. Yeah, it's
it's
connected to
you
your
know
iPhone.
you'd
It's getting
think that they could figure
notifications. I
out
mean,
some way to boost that battery life. I mean, and
Like there's a big hump they need to cross. Either you charge it every night or it lasts long enough that you charge it like every 3 or 4 days. In the middle, which is where like the regular series Apple Watches are, it's kind of like well, I don't really gain anything by, you know, but with like a day and a half battery life, I might as well just charge it every night. Like, I mean, I don't know these people who like wear Apple Watches to sleep. Like, I feel like I would give myself a black eye if I just like moved my
oh,
arm in
I
the
wear
wrong
mine to
way
sleep all the
overnight.
time. It's my favorite alarm
Ever
clock that
wake
I've
up
ever
with
had.
mysterious bruises? Or
I mean, my wife does, but that doesn't affect me, But
jeez.
you know, the the alarm clock on this thing is just the best that you can get for an alarm clock. Like if you don't have to hear some loud thing screaming in your ear to wake you up, and instead it starts gently buzzing on your wrist, it is such a more pleasant wake up experience than the Sony Dream Machine that I think half the United States grew up with
Oh,
in
the
like the
Dream
80s and 90s.
Machine.
The Dream Machine, the ironically named Dream Machine, the nightmare banshee that wakes you up in the morning going and you're in a deep sleep. That thing just starts screaming at you, and you scramble to try to find it. This is such a more pleasant experience. It's like a bubbling brook. It's like zzz, 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 and it gently increases its intensity, and I'm like, I feel so refreshed. I still feel terrible in the morning, but at least I don't have the added irritation of that thing screaming at me. Okay, look, we got to talk about this other MacBook story. Look, my friends, I think that we might be in for another new MacBook Pro very soon. In fact, according to this story, the M4 MacBook Pro could launch before 2024. As the story goes, we have the new M4 iPad, so we're already on that M4 kick. Based on supply chain checks, panel shipments for the 16-inch and 14-inch models will start in Q3 2024. According to, was this Ross Young, I think? I don't know, keep me honest. Yes, in a post on X for his subscribers. Dude, who subscribes to people on X? I really don't know. It's like, do you need to see their tweets that bad that you're going to pay to see their tweets? Like, I mean, no hate for people that do it. I just truly don't understand. Like, there's no tweet that I need to see bad enough to actually subscribe. Analyst Ross Young claims LCD panel shipments will start for the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros in Q3 2024. We are in Q2 now, I think. So this would be in the late summer fall quarter. October, November, December would be the Q4. Yeah. So Apple let's see here. Bloomberg's Mark Gurman previously reported that M4 Max would launch later this year. Between the end of 2024 and between the end of 2024 and typo and early 2025, Lewis, I hope you got that horse crop ready. Apple will reportedly launch new iMacs, a low-end 14-inch MacBook Pro, a high-end 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro, and Mac Minis, all with M4 chips. Like before, Apple has multiple M4 variants in the pipeline with more CPU and GPU cores for higher performance. More powerful Macs like the Mac Studio and the Mac Pro should also launch later in 2025. So there you go. If you've been waiting for a new MacBook Pro, I mean, dude, when did the M3 MacBook Pro launch? Do we know that off the top of our head?
That
Griffin,
was
October 2023, I think.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm just curious how long will this have been. Okay, let me pull up the Mac Rumors buying guide here. It's just, while we vamp.
November 2023.
Okay, November 2023. So it would have been just a little longer than a year if they,
About a
no,
year.
it would have been about a year. About a year for an update. I'm going to be so giddy if this happens, if they launch an M4 MacBook Pro. If they launch an M4 MacBook Pro, I think I might be able to get a little discount going on that one. That might put me over the top. I mean, in
You're
no
gonna be get-y. Go out and get one.
Lewis, normally these little quips that you have are so on point. I'm not sure that one's at the caliber I know that you're capable of.
All
That's
right,
like
then.
more at my level, I feel like.
and the Mac Mini's getting one at the same time.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
There you go. I mean, Apple is going to do whatever they can to milk that holiday season, especially now that, I mean, look, it's not like I'm some, stock Nostradamus, but we talked about this on a prior show, and I was like, dude, NVIDIA is going to become the number one company in the world from a value perspective. They are now. I mean, I'm like, when does this end? I do not know when this stops.
The day after I buy.
Well, okay, so I finally bought in. I finally bought in today. I didn't buy a ton. I thought about liquidating some of my Apple stock to buy in, but I'm like, that's probably a bad idea. But Apple just had a big move with their stock last week, I think. And so NVIDIA, of course, I did buy today. Now it's down. It's already down like 5%.
But yeah, once NVIDIA's on the top, they only have one way to go, Erfan.
That's not true. There's two ways they could go, up or down.
Oh, dear.
So NVIDIA is now worth $3.217 trillion. Microsoft is now 3.3, so they're back at the top, I think, and Apple is at 3.2. So NVIDIA and Apple neck and neck. NVIDIA was the most valuable company in the world last week, and I'm like, dude, where does this end? NVIDIA is the GPU of choice powering the AI generation. It's everyone's favorite GPU for gaming. And do you see the AI stuff ending anytime soon? I don't. We're at the very beginning. And it's already worth $3 trillion, and that sounds like a lot. But like in 5 years, people will be like, remember when companies were only worth $3 trillion? Like once everyone's minds adjust, then the stock starts going back up again. I mean, before you know it, we're going to be at 9 trillion, 10 trillion.
Remember when a coffee used to cost $5?
Yeah, my grocery bill is almost the same valuation of this NVIDIA stock
Yeah,
now.
why don't my grandkids call me anymore?
Every time I go to Costco, I got about a 1.2 trillion evaluation at the checkout line. So everything just keeps going up, man. But
I don't see how a company like that can be worth more than Apple. I mean, Apple has, a million product lines, all these different things. And NVIDIA makes what?
they make
One
GPUs.
One thing, right? Do they make
Yeah, but
anything
that
else?
one
I don't know, maybe
thing
they do.
is, I mean, they make a lot of different variations of one thing, but that one thing is perfectly positioned to power literally everything in the world. And every time they come out with a new model, everybody upgrades because they want the next best, card that's available. And so, and corporates, You have your corporates out there, Lewis. See,
Yeah.
this is what you need to understand. Your corporates.
Yeah,
They're out there
got it.
building these GPU farms, and they're filling up warehouses full with just GPUs, all from NVIDIA. You could barely buy a NVIDIA GPU. Good luck trying to find one. You want like a 4090? I mean, maybe Best Buy might have one in stock. The one that NVIDIA itself makes, impossible. You won't find it. Like if you want like a third-party card, then maybe you could find that. And once the 590s come out, it's going to be the same story, the 580s, the 570s. I mean, you could find the lower-end cards now. But between gamers, crypto miners, and GPU farms, everybody and their grandma wants NVIDIA. My mom bought NVIDIA. She's literally a grandma. She bought NVIDIA probably 2 years ago. She
NVIDIA
had me
stock?
She bought
or a
NVIDIA
GPU?
stock. Well, sorry, I'm switching gears here. Yeah, NVIDIA stock. So my mom came to me and she's like, I want to buy a bunch of stock. And I'm like, okay, what do you want? She's like, this huge list. She probably got it from Jim Cramer. And so I went out and bought a bunch of stuff. Like it was NVIDIA, I think Comcast and some other stuff. It was painful for me to buy Comcast stock, admittedly. But now that stock that she bought, all thanks to NVIDIA, is worth like 2 or 3 times what she paid for it. Because NVIDIA is so bonkers now. It's out of this world, man. And I'm like, how far can Apple go? I'm sorry, we're totally off the beaten path here. All right. Before we
How
move
did we
on.
even get on this? It's not even on the. It's not even one of the topics.
I know. Shocking.
What in
Shocking.
the world?
Let me see here. Before we move on. Oh, I don't want to do that. Yes. Before we move on, I want to, again, thank Bilt for supporting this episode. Let me go ahead and cue it up. If you rent is probably your biggest expense. And the Lord of your land, he doesn't want anything but cash or check. So it's impossible to earn rewards. I mean, I remember when I used to pay rent, I was always like, it would be so great if I could get some kind of rewards for paying my rent, because you would just be raking in rewards. I mean, you got to spend the money. It's most people's biggest expense. And yet you can't, because your Lord of your lands just wants cash or check. But think of all the rewards you could be earning paying your rent. Now you can with Bilt. Bilt is breaking ground as the first rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Even if your landlord only takes checks, that's not a problem. Bilt will mail the check for you. It's like having a personal rent-paying assistant. Every month, you pay your rent and watch the Bilt Rewards roll in. Use points towards a vacation. Put your points toward a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can even use points towards a flight. Or we just said that part. Sorry. You can even use your points toward a future rent payment. That's pretty meta if you think about it. Or towards a future down payment on a home. Pay rent hassle-free through the Bilt Rewards app. Bilt points have been consistently ranked as the highest value point currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbilt.com/cultcast. That's joinbilt.com/cultcast. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. Joinbilt.com/cultcast to start earning points with your rent payments today. I feel like I'm slowly losing my ability to talk today. All right, let's move on. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about still, and I think this might be our longest story. So I'm going to send it over to Griffin to see if he can make it through this in 5 minutes or less. I don't know if it's possible. There's a whole lot of notes in here.
Where is that arbitrary limitation coming from? I disagree with that.
What would you like? 6 minutes?
Let's just see how it goes.
That's what I was hoping you weren't going to say. Okay, where are my open eye goggles? No, I'm just joking. Take it away, Griffin. There's a lot of stuff in here.
So I installed iOS 18 last week, unfortunately, and I'm doing it so our dear listeners don't have to, because I'm going to tell you all about the new stuff so that I can save you from the pain. Yeah, it's pretty buggy. It's one of the more buggy betas that we've had in a few years. And Apple has quite a bit of bug testing to do in the next few months. But I'm going to walk through some of the highlights of the new big features that I've discovered. The first big change is obviously the free placement of app icons on the home screen. This is a little weird. First of all, when you first update iOS 18, obviously all of your apps are still going to be like in the giant order that they were, like left to right, top to bottom. So if you have a bunch of apps in a group, breaking one of the icons away, maybe to move them to the bottom of the screen, will still make the rest of the icons do that shuffle left to right, bottom up as they used to. But as soon as you just have an icon on its own, like you put it on the bottom or you put it on a different page, you can put it wherever you want on the invisible grid. But then again, if you put too many icons together, then they'll start flowing into each other again. It's very bizarre. Another element of the customizable home screen is the recoloring of the app icons. You can keep them in light mode, you can switch to dark mode, or you can pick an accent color of your choosing, have them all monochrome. According to Apple's guidelines, the dark mode icons are all supposed to adopt this black gradient that's apparently like a standard element provided by the system. So like if an app developer is making a dark mode icon, they start with Apple's dark gray at a darker gray gradient, and then they're just supposed to put their colorful symbol on top of it, which is kind of weird. The color tinted icons always start on top of that black gradient as well. So although you can pick whatever color you want, if you want like sort of a light pastel color scheme, it's going to look really ugly no matter what you do.
Yeah, some of these look truly terrible.
So like you really want to, you don't think of it as like it's dark or whatever color I want. It's still, a dark mode theme, even though you can pick whatever color, like a light blue or like lavender or light pink. The other main feature is the customizable control center. So you can add new icons, you can resize them, which is pretty cool. So if you want to make like the flashlight button bigger and more obvious and easier to hit with your thumb, you can make it bigger. And you can also remove the ones you don't want. And the great thing is you can do this all from Control Center itself. Like before, I don't think people even knew that you could go in settings and change the Control Center buttons, but now it's much more obvious because you just do it from the same place. And there are a bunch more controls to choose from. Like there's like literally pages and pages. Like you go to Customize Control Center and add a widget, and there are literally like pages upon pages of buttons you can add. It's really cool. Like all of the accessibility features can basically be toggled as buttons in Control Center that you can add if you want. And third-party apps will be able to add their own as well, which will be pretty neat. It's like hilariously buggy right now. I tried moving around some of the buttons, and like you try to move one icon here, and then like literally like the rest of the entire page shuffles around in a completely nonsensical order. Sometimes you're moving around buttons and they just like disappear under your finger. So you're just moving around like an invisible square. And then it's like, well, how do I get it back?
This is why I didn't install the beta.
This is the buggiest part of the system. And it's kind of
I'm gonna give it a few versions before I install it on my phone.
Yeah. Now the other big change that I want to call out is the new Photos app. This is the other like major change. They call it like the biggest redesign of the Photos app ever, and you can certainly see that. And I can see what they're going for, because I've observed other people using their phones, and admittedly, most people go to one tab, either the library tab or the camera roll, like the recents album, and they just stay in that 100% of the time. And the new design kind of accommodates that, because there's not really a tab bar on the bottom at all. Like you open the Photos app and it's just one giant scrollable view. So you scroll up to see your library, you scroll down to see the list of albums and memories. Like the core idea there is sound, but then they didn't stop designing it. And that's the problem, because it's far more complicated when you actually use it than it needs to be. Like after you scroll down, for example, you can't just scroll back up to see your photo library again, because when you scroll down, your photo library disappears and becomes a rotating carousel of like people, favorite shots, intelligently chosen images, which is incredibly confusing. Like trying to figure out just how to get back to your library is like, you have to happen to notice that there's like this tiny little 3-dot like pagination on the bottom, and then you have to scroll back and find your library somewhere in that horizontally scrolling list. When you're trying to scroll up to find it again, like it's really confusing. And then you keep scrolling down, and they just have like way too many sections below the fold. You scroll down, and there are sections for recent days, people and pets, pinned collections, memories, trips, albums, featured photos, media types, utilities, and wallpaper suggestions.
Utilities.
That's just too many categories. Utilities is like the categories of like I think it's like recently deleted and hidden and stuff like that.
What a weird name.
It's just too many sections. And Apple is like, oh, well, you can customize it. Ordinary people aren't going to customize this. They're going to be confused the first time they look at it and just wish that it was the old way again.
Caveman from the chat says, I can't wait till I have to explain this all to my wife.
Exactly. Like, I don't think Apple needs to chuck the design out and revert to the old one. But as it is far more confusing.
I mean, I'm looking at the picture that you posted in this story, and the first thing in my mind was, how do I get back to my photo library? That was like my very first thought.
You can't look at that picture and identify how to get back to your photo library. And that's a picture from the keynote.
Yeah. Like they thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. They just need to pare it back a little bit.
Maybe there needs to be a back
reduce the
button.
number of categories, get rid of that stupid carousel thing. Like
How would you do that from that screenshot we're looking at now? The featured with the
I'm not looking at the same screenshot as you because I don't have, let me bring it up and let me find it right here. So, oh yeah, from that screenshot, you see the tiny little dots underneath where it says featured photos.
Yeah.
little gray dots.
You need to scroll left or right an arbitrary number of times until you get back to the screen that says library, and then you can scroll back up and see your library.
Yeah. Not good UX.
A little too subtle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you really want to try out iOS 18, it's available in a beta right now. I don't recommend it. Wait until the public beta in July. I also highly recommend you click through the show notes to see the full article because, I highlighted the three main features here, but there's still much more like in Messages, the new Passwords app, calendar settings, Safari. Math Notes is apparently coming to the iPhone and much more that I discovered.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Obviously, the link to the story will be in the show notes if you want to go through all of this, but we would have to do a whole episode to cover all this stuff. Holy moly, look at all this stuff. Okay.
And we probably will over the course of like the next few months discover.
Yeah,
talk
for
about
sure.
all this
And
stuff.
once it becomes more stable, we can both talk about it. Once you're done being the guinea pig, and I'm like, oh yeah, now it's stable. I'll install it. Let me know it's stable, Griffin.
Oh, I do want to say I'm not running the macOS beta right now, but there is one thing that's really tempting me to install the macOS beta, and that is, of all things, there's a new chess app. They changed the chess app for the first time since macOS 10.3.
You don't say, man.
I didn't even know there was a chess app.
Me either. Imagine being the dev who got put on the chess app in Mac. You're like, oh no, my career's over. I'll never recover from this. Like, where do I go from here? You want me to do what?
It's one of the oldest apps on the Mac. Like, it's been unchanged for like 12 years. And even before that, it's one of the apps that came over from Next Step.
Wow. I think I remember playing chess on the Mac eons ago, but I didn't even know it was still there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
God, there it is. Jeez.
All right, Lewis.
Like
Speaking of features no one knew about, how's that for a segue?
Wow, man! You did that on the fly?
I know.
That was wow. That's impressive.
That's what happens when you podcast for 13 or 14 or 12 years, whichever one is actually true. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, so we did a little post. This is by our own Rajesh Pandey.
Yeah.
He wrote 11 hidden iOS 18 features Apple did not tell you about because they're sneaky. They like to hide stuff. So, and one of these, as mentioned, 11 items. This is probably going to grow as time goes on because there's bound to be more things show up. But one of the cool things, it's super minor, but this is the kind of thing I love. Pressing the volume or side button on your iPhone triggers an animation that makes the screen bezel look like it's expanding.
Oh.
Did you see that in the video?
Did you say bezel?
Bezel. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay.
Bezel?
No,
Bezel?
Bezel.
Yeah,
So
it's like you click the volume, like either a side button or the power button on your phone, and it's like you're squishing the black in a little bit on the screen. It's really cool.
Yeah, that is one of those super cool little UI things that Apple does that you go, wow, that is thoughtful, well implemented. Doesn't make your phone do something screwy that you don't like. It's just a nice touch. You can see why they didn't mention it, but anyway, it looks cool. You were just talking about all the home screen customization options. One of the things you can do is you can hide the app labels, the names, the little
Oh,
names.
that actually is handy.
Very clean looking, right?
Yeah. I mean, who needs to see the actual name of the app beneath the icon?
Now, what I don't know is if you can hide those one by one.
No,
Or do you
you,
have to do it
you switch
on or
larger
off?
icons, and then all of the icons get slightly larger, and they hide the labels.
Okay.
Wonderful. I love that.
I've got so many apps on my iPhone that I never use and don't like. I'm stunned that they're even there when they show up in a search. I'm like, what is this? I can't remember what they were. Anyway, let's see. You can already adjust the flashlight intensity on the iPhone to the control center, but in iOS 18, you can change the flashlight width, like the beam that it shoots out. Have you seen that in action?
No.
There's a tweet on the page. Shows it. It's pretty interesting.
You can change the angle of the beam. Is that what you said?
The width of the beam, like
No way.
the focus of the beam. Let's see.
Oh, whoa. That's crazy.
I knew you'd like that. Let's see. Virtual power button added to the control center, so you don't have to remember exactly how you turn the thing on and off. Let's see.
That's handy, actually.
Yeah. Search function in the settings menu in iOS 18 will automatically show relevant suggestions based on your past usage. Might be handy. Might be another thing where it tricks you and keeps switching it out even as you're typing. Press the wrong thing. You got to go dive back in.
Dude, that screen bezel thing when you press the volume button.
It's cool, isn't it?
That is
slick.
That is a bonkers UI effect. The fact that they even thought about that. So it emulates pressure on the outside band of the phone to make it look like you're pressing in on the frame of the phone when it's just a UI effect.
It's like the rubber band effect from way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one of those little cool things that you just say, "Wow, that is quality." That's quality right there. It doesn't do a thing. It doesn't make the phone work faster, run. It probably makes it the battery, 0.01%.
It probably drains the battery, yeah.
But
it's quality workmanship right there, Lewis. Quality workmanship.
Excellent.
I agree.
Let's see. I don't know how much more this is actually look pretty major too. The iCloud page gets a major upgrade. It looks, if you show a screenshot of that, it looks way, way, way different and actually in useful ways because it's kind of weird. I mean, every time I dive into the iCloud part of the phone, it's like just seems really anemic. This looks great. I don't know if you've checked that out.
Yeah, I'm looking.
A neat thing that I've noticed in the settings app is that if you go to different pages, like the general page or the accessibility page, or like the Wi-Fi page, it has these nice little friendly explanatory cards on the top of the screen. There's explains the kind of settings that you can expect to find there. So it'll teach people over time where to find certain settings.
Cool.
All right.
Let's see. And this was the first one in the post, and we were talking about before the show. It's a little confusing, but it's actually a great thing. They tweaked the recents tab in the phone app, so that now when you go in there, you see the list of people who've called you recently. You don't, there's like a call button or something, or a icon that lets you can easily press a thing that pulls up the contact, as opposed to like right now you have to, click on that. Remember to click on that little eye icon over the right. And if you happen to click on the person's name or tap on the person's name instead, you automatically call them. And it happens to be all the time. I mean, because to be honest, I don't use the phone that often. And when I do use it, I almost never use it in that way. It's always like, hey, what's her name? Please call such and such, which, by the way, at least 50% of the time, it gets it right. That's AI.
That's the power of AI. That's why NVIDIA's stock is going to the moon.
It's like, to clarify, if you're in the Recents tab and you tap on any row item, right now, it'll default to immediately calling that person, and you have to tap on the tiny little eye to see the details of the call, which is probably what you mean to do. And in iOS 18, that's reversed. Where now, if you tap the row, it'll show up the detail view, and you have to tap a little phone button if you want to try and call them.
It makes it much, much harder to accidentally call somebody when all you really want to know is, who is this person that called me? remind
Right now,
yourself.
it's like walking through like a minefield or something, trying not to
Yeah.
call anybody with your finger accidentally.
Exactly. Let's see. What else? we
Anything
got in
else,
here?
Lewis?
Uh,
I think you hit all the beats.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't even understand the Files app has a keep downloaded option.
Oh.
File saved in iCloud. I mean, I understand what that is, but I've never. I've never run into that being a problem. This is cool though. Offline Apple Maps syncing with Apple Watch, first time ever. Apparently, I didn't. That's one of those things like I'm surprised. Really, it doesn't work with Apple Watch, but I guess I've never tried it.
Me
I
either.
never. I don't have a. Well, I don't often go anywhere without my phone, so why would I do that? But anyway, I think that's maybe 11. I don't know. Can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's close enough.
that's all I got on there.
Okay.
We'll keep
All
adding
right.
to it as time goes on. We discover more, or the internet discovers more hidden features in iOS 18.
I always love the hidden features stuff because there's always so many features that are packed in there that they don't have time to discuss at the keynote, and they're life improvements that you just get to stumble on. And so like the hidden iOS features, it's one of my favorite segments that we do every single time they make or create new versions of iOS, because there's always a ton of stuff in there that you discover, right? And they're little nuggets that you wouldn't have heard about from Apple.
One thing that I don't know if they mentioned this in the WWDC 24 keynote, but the way that the Siri UI works, where it like lights up around the edges or something, that looks really pretty. Is that working now in the beta, or?
No, that new UI only comes to the new Siri. So if you don't have, like right now, Siri looks exactly as it always has, and it will for everybody who doesn't have an iPhone 15 Pro.
Oh, right. I got
Or
it.
16 Pro.
Because the around the screen edge UI for Siri is supposed to indicate Siri's looking at your entire screen and can take action on what you're doing. Like you'll just have the
it's
Siri bubble.
symbolic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Now that is interesting. I didn't realize that either. That's pretty cool. Of course, it's got additional meaning.
I, of course, haven't tried it because I'm not going to download an iOS beta.
No.
And it's also
Ever
not in
again.
there. None of the Apple Intelligence features are in the first beta at all.
But people have been posting shots of that, right? Because there is some kind of way you can like tweak. There's some kind of tweak you can do to supposedly get the new Siri. But I've never yet come to figure out if that's actually the new Siri UI or the actual new superpowered extra, almost kind of smart Siri, or what it is.
I don't know exactly what the distinction is, but I have seen that process, and I'm in the middle of
You're
trying to do it
investigating.
myself. It's a very complicated set of steps you have to go through.
Just to have that new user interface. Hey, you know what? It looks pretty cool. Every time you use it, you say, "Wow, I'm glad I went through all that time and effort."
This is the kind of hard-hitting investigative journalism you can find at cultofmac.com.
That is true. Investigative journalism. Okay, well, we got through all the Apple news. Let me wrap up with this story.
The cherry on top.
Just when you thought the saga had concluded, oh no, my friends, the MoviePass documentary that we talked about. I don't even know how long ago it was, but I was like, this needs to be turned into a movie. I remember actually saying that. And my friends, here we are. The MovieCrash, or the MoviePass, MovieCrash documentary, available now on HBO. I've been meaning to bring this up, but we haven't been able to work it in. And when I saw this pop up, I was tickled. I was like, no way. They actually made one. From the description on the website page, MoviePass was a movie lover's dream. That is true. Offering access to movie theater tickets at a discounted rate, but in just 8 years, it went from being the fastest growing subscription service since Spotify to total bankruptcy, which I think I called. I was like, there's no way this service can survive. I mean, the reason it was growing so fast is because everyone knew that they were basically just giving away free movies. MoviePass MovieCrash chronicles the visionary mission of its co-founders, its impressive early success as an innovative movie ticketing model. I mean, success, it depends on how you frame it. Yes, the model was popular, but the reason the model was popular is because you were literally giving away movies. and people are like, I can pay you $10 a month to see as many $14 movies as I want. That seems like a good
great deal.
You know? Let's see here. Documenting its impressive early success as an innovative movie ticketing model and its precipitous downfall caused by mismanagement and corporate greed. Dude, I don't know if that's it. I think their business model was a complete joke. I mean, you can't sell a membership for an unlimited item when that item has an expense that you have to pay for that costs more than the membership itself. That just doesn't work. Let's see here. Anything else in here that I want to talk about? No. It's on HBO Max. If you want to conclude the great MoviePass saga with a documentary that explains all the inner workings and everything we loved about MoviePass. I was one of the first to sign up for the service. And at the time, I was like, this is one of the best services I've ever paid for. I was seeing 1-2 movies a week, paying $10 a month. And the movies in Seattle, are $14 a pop. And I mean, I had to have cost them like hundreds of dollars over the course of my membership. And then they went out of business and then rebranded. And the rebrand was actually pretty good. Well, I guess this was like the second or third rebrand, because like the second one, I think they were selling like T-shirts and teddy bears and stuff, which is kind of odd. But when they finally came out with a real business model, it wasn't a bad deal. You could pay them, I think, $15 a month to see up to 2 movies a week or something. I forget what the actual model was. And I was like, this is actually really good. And now it's a total joke. It's like you pay them, I think, like $15 a month, and they give you credits. And depending on what time of day you go, or if you go on the movie or on the weekend, the credits end up giving you essentially like what you've paid for at a slight discount. So it's just really not worth it at all. But I salute MoviePass. Even though it cost them hundreds of millions of dollars, it changed the movie industry forever. And it couldn't have been more prescient. I mean, with COVID looming, which of course none of us knew about, except for maybe Al Gore, it allowed movie theaters to create a business model that allowed them to, have a subscription-based revenue and possibly even stay in business. And now Regal copied them. I want to say AMD. That's obviously not it. What's the other bit? AMC. Thank you. One letter off. I was so close. AMC copied them. And so MoviePass, though they are defunct and completely out of money, probably. Well, that's not true because they're back in business. Their soul lives on in these other movie theater models. So in a way, they did change the course of history. They just didn't do it for themselves. They planted a tree that they themselves didn't get to live under. And I think that's quite poetic.
Change? Oh, sorry.
No, that's it. That's all I have.
How much do those other movie chains charge for that? I mean, I know Alamo Drafthouse has one, but it was something like $20 or $30 a month. It's like,
I think
geez.
AMC is 20 something, depending on the market that you're in. Regal might be a little bit less, but they have fewer features than AMC does. So it's in line. And like the models from AMC and Regal, I think are unlimited. I think they actually are unlimited. I think. Whereas MoviePass, I don't even know. Let's go to MoviePass.
Yeah, credits now. But it's, the most amazing thing aside from the fact that the movie exists, the most amazing thing about what you read was that MoviePass was in business for 8 years.
Yes, they were, but they made the changes, I think, in like the last 2 years of their ownership. So before, they were charging like $30 or $60 a month for a limited selection of movies or a limited amount of movies. And then they went ham in like their last 2 or 3 years and dropped it down to $10, which of course was never going to work.
Went what?
Ham?
What?
Hard as a mother.
Oh, got it.
Yep. And
so you're saying like the ludicrous business model that they were famous for was only true of their last 2 years of business.
I think it was their last 2 years. It might have been 3. Let's see here. Billions worth of box office for as low as $10 per month. Okay, so here, yeah. So you get they have a basic plan, $10, up to 3 movies per month. Yeah, if you see it at 6 a.m. on a Monday, your credits might be worth 3 movies, but otherwise, they're going to be worth 1 movie. Or you can spend $20 and get up to 4 movies per month. So now it's like there are all these games that you've got to like figure out, right? It's like, oh, I get credits. And the movies cost different amount of credits at the different hours on the different days. Like, how do I maximize? So if you're like a senior citizen who's unemployed, then maybe this is worth it for you. But if you have a job, you are not going to be getting up to 3 movies per month for $10 a month. That's not happening. Like, you might see 1 movie for $10, but not worth it, in my opinion.
I think it said something about, because I was looking at this a while back when it resurfaced. It's like, oh, your credits don't expire for 3 months or something like that, wasn't it?
Oh, really? Oh, so your credits expire?
Is there a window?
Learn about credits. Let's see here.
More investigative journalism. Keep investigating.
Yeah, okay. So, I forgot the prices already. Look at this. Yeah, if you go on a weekday afternoon, it's 15 credits. If you go on a weekday afternoon, it's 15. A weekend, 25 credits. Weekend night, 30 credits. You just used all your credits. I don't know. Use them all at once or save them up. Your credits roll over. You can have up to 2 months of credits in your account at any one time. So if you don't use them, they just expire, Lewis.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's when I said, this ain't for me.
Yeah, dude. It's not for me either.
It sounds to me, though, that like we should watch the documentary and do an off-topic about it.
Yeah.
We have a lot to say.
Which, by the way, I'll wrap up with. We have a all-new off-topic that I should have released last week, but alas, it's coming out this week about the Wilhelm scream. The scream you've all heard in the movies that you've all watched. And funny enough, you son of a guns, I went and watched Lord of the Rings, Return of the King this weekend, and guess what I heard? Legolas was climbing up on one of those elephants, and he shot this guy, and he goes, "Ah!" as he fell off. And I slapped my knee. I was like, "No way!" There it is, the Wilhelm scream. I never noticed it before, and after you guys hear this episode, you will never be able to unhear it either. I mean, it's the sound effect used across all of movie history, and I never even knew. But that's a topic that's off. And for another time.
Slightly off.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But, as I mentioned, the party continues in CultCast Off Topic, which, if you would like to listen to, you can do by supporting us at support.thecultcast.com. You could also do it for free, but have a guilty conscience. Or you could fork it over and not have a guilty conscience. I leave it to you. But I did notice there's a whole lot of you listening that are not forking. So go to your drawer in your kitchen, grab that fork, and let's get that action happening so that you can listen to the show completely guilt-free. Unless you have no soul, in which case, you can just do that anyway.
Maybe we should sell official CultCast forks.
There you go. That is a business model I hadn't considered. We're going to make a fortune. We'll issue credits, and the credits are good for forks. The forks can be used at certain times. Let's see here. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday. I want to thank everyone for listening and for hanging out live, and we will see you guys next time. It reminds me of the Bluetooth fork that we saw at CES one year. And I thought to myself, they truly are out of ideas, Lewis. They've got nothing left. The Bluetooth fork.
Is this like a diet-related thing?
I don't even think it did that. I think it was like gonna buzz if you ate too fast, like you're not digesting your food properly or something. I mean, it probably cost $100.
Hey, fatty, keep that fork away from your mouth.
Dude, CES is a stadium full of broken dreams and terrible ideas. It's like, how did you get this far? It's like, I mortgaged my house to design the Bluetooth fork. You shouldn't have done that. You definitely should not have done that. All right, all. I'm going to stop the broadcast now.